Hello everyone, and welcome back to my office tank setup. As you can see, we got a new light hanging up there. That's the one I talked about in the end of my video. And we're also doing a little bit of water testing. And if we could see in here, we have to start the cycle in the tank. So I took a frozen raw shrimp, put it in here, gonna let it decompose and get the cycle started on the tank. That's the old school way of getting the tank to start producing the good bacteria that you want it to. Now, I'm leaving the pump on so you can hear the noise. This is the #1 problem with this tank. They've known to have terrible pumps that come with them. They're really loud. It actually pumps real well, but it is super noisy. And for the rest of the video, I'm actually going to turn it off. But I'm going to talk about the light. I've already put it on there. It is a AI Prime HD, and it does have some really cool aspects to it. The #1 being, let's walk over here and get my tablet. It runs off of an app, so we'll put it up here on the tablet. We're going to select the office tank. You can hook up multiple lights, and this is your control settings. Everything is done through Wi-Fi onto the tank itself. We can turn the tank lights on. Now they are right there running at 100% all the way around. There is no program in it right now. We're going to turn them off just for a second. I can talk about their app itself. It does allow you to download different lighting schedules or make your own. So you can adjust a lot about this light, and I'm going to do that for you right now. We're going to get this set up. I might have turned down this a little bit so we don't get so much glare. But we can go in and we can control the settings. Now, with the Prime HD, they are a regular one. The HD lets you actually adjust a little more of it. We're going to turn the lights on. As you can see, there they are. They're back on. It's not really as bright as you see on the camera. The camera will always pick up a lot more of the blue light. They always do. And we're going to look at the bars here. And you're going to see they are all set at 100%. Now, for a reef tank, you're generally not going to keep a setting that's like this. It has way too much green and red light, also the cool white. In there, it will promote way too much algae growth as far as unwanted algae and stuff. So most people, if we see, we will put down the cool white to roughly 15 to 20%. We'll just leave it right there. Your red and your green, everything's adjustable straight from here. Sorry, get it. I think we're going to move down. That's 17. It's even lower. We'll really be at around 5%. There are a couple of people that really do a lot of this, that do really tried and true settings that will make this light. And you can already see a much bluer light now that we drop down all that white and blue out of it. But the good thing about the HD versus the regular Prime is we have the ability, because we lowered some of the wattage on these, we can overpower some of the other ones. So the ones we want, like the royal blue, we can bring up. The violet we can bring up. The UV we can bring up. And also the blue lights itself we can bring up. This is just an example. A lot of people will change these throughout the day to allow a little different. If you look here, we are running at 37 watts, which is perfect for the lighting. For this little tank, 37 watts is plenty. We can grow any sort of coral we want. You can see we get that nice blue. I'm actually going to turn the pump back on, and you'll see a little more shimmer in the tank. That is one of the things that you can kind of see with LED lights. You'll kind of see a pixelated disco ball effect. It is very common with LED lighting. If you don't like it, there are other light sources that can definitely produce a different effect. But the shimmer is one of the things that is actually something really neat about the tanks itself. Now, one of the other things that if you've never had a saltwater tank with reef lighting, people, your next door neighbors will always ask you what the heck is going on at your house, because you wouldn't think this to be very bright. But in a dark room, this will light up the room from the outside, and it's very similar to that purple glow of a plant light. People will ask you what's going on, and people with tanks, they'll know exactly what it is. I'm going to turn the lights off, and we'll see just how much it does glow. And if I didn't have the curtains here, you could definitely see this from outside of the house. You could see there is a good bit of light spillage throughout the room. The good thing about it, I'm going to turn the lights on, is we have full adjustability. We can move it up and down inside the tank. The one thing also, you can have different hanging options. There's a flexible head option. I didn't want to go with it just because I know sometimes that when they get weak, they will tend to bend, and I don't want any chance of the light falling into the tank itself. You can also hang them from the ceiling if it was close with a wire. They do make a wired adapter. I know the light is driving the camera crazy here, and it doesn't want to adjust. We'll let it sit there for a second. But everything is controlled through Wi-Fi for this light. It is one of the things that does come. A lot of people like it. Some people don't like having that manual control. But once again, that's technology here. And, you know, as we move on, it does make it a bit easier. I will tell you that the setup is a little bit more difficult. You'll get a paper that'll tell you what to do to set up. It will come with everything. I feel I'm pretty used to dealing with setting up apps and stuff like that, especially with the phone farm. But I will tell you, it was not easy to set up. Some people say, hey, it's no problem. I tell you what, it took me 3 times to try and get the Wi-Fi from the light to actually hook in. And then once it hooks in, it's no problem. Once you get it set up, it's not a problem. There are a few issues with people reporting that this light does not want to connect. If you would have an issue with that, if you bought it from Amazon, I would return it and get a different one as defective. If you didn't, if you bought it from somewhere else, I'd see what their return policy is. You do not want to fight with a light that is not able to hook up, because it is a problem with the light itself. There's nothing you can do to fix it. That is my advice to you there. If you ever have one of these that doesn't hook up, just return it. Don't even mess around. If it's still in the return period of time, if you bought it used, unfortunately, you have to go in and deal with customer service at that point. But if you bought it from somewhere, or especially Amazon, that has a really easy return policy, I'd recommend doing that. Don't mess around with one that won't connect. If it doesn't connect, there could be an issue. There is a known issue with some of the Wi-Fi cards in these lights, as noted in a lot of their reviews and stuff. But follow the directions that they give you, and it sets up pretty well, pretty decently. That is about the height that I figure I'm going to need to have for the corals. It is, I can bring that down quite a bit more. The other thing with the way that you hang these is, there's 3 chambers in the back here. It will take up one of those chambers. So just know that if you're hanging it on a on an all-in-one tank, you probably will take up one of the chambers itself. But as you can see, the lighting is up. We're going to do a few more water tests. I have my my refractometer there to test for the salinity. I like to test it that way. I find it to be more accurate as long as you keep your water, as long as you keep a good bit of the testing solution, keep it accurate, keep it clean. That is a great way to do it, other than with a hydrometer. You can go with that for a specific gravity. That's the way I like to do it. There are many other ways to test salinity. It depends on temperature. It depends on a number of things, but once you get the base number down in your salinity, you really just want to make sure when you do your water changes, you keep it stable. Stability is the #1 thing when it comes to keeping corals in a reef tank. So what we're looking to do now, and I don't think I'm really going to have much of an update on the tank itself until I get that new pump. I am ordering a new pump. That's what the phone farm is working hard. It is working hard to get a new pump in this tank, so I don't have to sit here and listen to this whine constantly. I don't know how anybody could put a pump in a tank like this that consistently makes this noise and it's just not acceptable. You can't do it. But they do, so I need to get an upgraded pump. The upgraded pump will be quieter, and it will also have more flow, about 20-25% more flow, so we can expect some more motion in the tank, which is good for the type of corals we'll be getting. The heater is set. The water is at the proper temperature. We now have the light. The light will not need to be turned on till we start to get some stuff in the tank itself. For this point in time, I'm not going to be putting it on. It's just going to be a matter of doing water testing, keeping up with the salinity. There will also be an auto top-off unit. When that comes in and I get that ordered, that'll be the next on the list for the pump and then auto top-off unit. I will do a video when I get that stuff in. If anybody wants to know any more about the tank itself, feel free to ask. I can obviously do more videos about the tank itself if that's what you like to see. I mean, we can get into how you test water, ways to test the salinity, stuff like that if you want to know a little more about it. But this is basically the setup for the next, I'm going to say probably 6 weeks. Not much is going to change. The light won't be on for most of this time. There's no reason to use the electricity. And with the amount of nutrients that's going to show up from that when that shrimp in there, raw shrimp, starts to rot, to get that good bacteria that we want in the rocks itself. Once that starts and takes over, we're going to continue to do water testing. And then I think the goal is, I believe, later in March to be able to start adding some stuff to it. I may add a cleanup crew, which will, for this tank, will be some small hermit crabs or some small snails later in February, depending on how big of an algae bloom we get with the tank cycling itself. It's going to be a messy stage coming up here. These next really 4 to 6 weeks are going to be a bit ugly for the tank. But hopefully we're going to get that new pump in. We're going to quiet it down. We're going to get that extra flow, an auto top-off unit. And then once we start to put in some corals itself, I will begin to worry about another circulation pump. We are going to want a lot of flow, movement of the water, whether it be flow through the filtration system, which will be done with the return pump, which is that pump that's in there, which forces it through that nozzle on the top, or whether it be just areas circulation pump inside, which I'll show you the way they mount inside, and that will provide motion inside the tank. It doesn't do any filtration, but it will stir up, produce that motion to get all the debris and everything out of the rock itself, so stuff doesn't settle. It stays in the water column and ultimately goes into the filter sock that is in the back of the tank. I will talk a little bit more about water stability and numbers later. Like I said, if that's something everybody wants to know about, let me know. I can most certainly sit down and we can go over the test kits that I use. In the beginning stages, I use a simpler test kit. It doesn't need to be as accurate. I'm only testing for a few things. I'm not looking for specific numbers that are super important. I'm looking to see whether the tank has started to cycle. So the test kits I use initially will be different. If you want to know more about it, let me know. Of course, this is going to be coming out on Tuesday. It is Sunday night as I am shooting this video now. So not much will have changed by the time you see this video. I will be doing some more app reviews coming up on some other apps, especially for people that like to play games, not on your phone, but ways to earn free game keys on Steam and stuff like that. There are a few apps out there that allow you to do that. I'm going to cover those on the channel. And then Saturday, as normal, we'll see the weekly review here on the phone farm itself. I hope everybody's having a wonderful week. Hopefully your earnings are staying good, and put those earnings to use. Do something that you really enjoy, like if it happens to be starting a saltwater tank, here you go. This is a perfect way to see exactly what you'll need. As I said, everything is listed in the bottom of this. There are links that if you want to see prices, if you want to see reviews on stuff, they are all listed on Amazon. I like to use Amazon as a way, number one, because I have a referral program. So if you order anything off those links, it's helping me out. I'm very thankful for it. It is a little extra income. It doesn't produce a lot. I don't do a lot of tech-heavy videos that allow me to, to push a lot of referrals to products, but I do some, and I do put them up there if you want to know my experience with them and also check out and order them at that point. So I'm going to leave the video here. I hope you all enjoy my journey to get this office tank up. We took one big step. Other than the corals now itself, the biggest price point was the lighting is out of the way. We're looking at about $240 between the light and the stand itself. We're looking at a pump. A new pump's going to be right around $50. Auto top-off units are fairly expensive. You don't need them, but depending on the type of corals you want and the availability that you're going to be around, you need to keep that fresh water topped off, because you're with a no lid on the top of this tank, evaporation is pretty heavy. And especially if you live up north and the heat's on a lot, the heat will draw it out. If you live farther south, warmer climate, that AC will do the same thing. It's going to pull a lot of the moisture out of the air. Not quite as much as the heat will, but it will continue to pull water out. And I have to add at least twice a day to keep the salinity stable. And when it comes to a lot of these corals, salinity is super important. You cannot have big swings. It will kill the coral off. So an auto top off unit will be high up on the list of things to come here. So the phone farm needs to do some work. I'm going to continue to move along with this tank, and I hope you all are enjoying it. I thank you all, and as always, have a wonderful day.